on an early day, on a weekday. We appreciate it very, very much. And I'm glad to be in Sully in Jasper County. I appreciate my friend Matt being here and his leadership on behalf of our campaign in Iowa. We're grateful for you and for all the help that you give. The President of the United States addressed the country yesterday afternoon, and we saw in his remarks, both in content and tone, that his call to the nation that he used during 2008 of hope and change had become hope and blame. And he began to act like a manure spreader in a windstorm, throwing things in every direction without any real focus, without any real sense of solution, and in fact without any real credibility. As he was speaking, or in the aftermath of it, the stock market went down further, not up. They didn't take any confidence, as the country doesn't have any confidence in his leadership and vision and direction for America. So we now have a President of the United States who came into office and said things like he would cut the deficit in half during his first term. Well, he didn't cut it in half, he tripled the budget deficit. He said when he was running for office that he would work with Republicans and do health care reform the right way, hold down costs, make it a bipartisan bill. And as a candidate, he was opposed to the individual mandate. Then he went to Washington, D.C. and did just the opposite. And his big idea about the economy was that he wanted the Congress to pass the stimulus bill, this pork-filled government sustenance stimulus bill. He said if we didn't pass it, unemployment would go all the way up to 8%. Remember that? And then they passed it, and it went not to 8%, but to 10%. He spent the first year and a half of his administration pursuing this unconstitutional, misguided piece of health care legislation and doing things like wanting to shut down Guantanamo Bay so he could bring suspected terrorists back to American soil and put them in prison or on civil process here, prosecution here. Instead, he should have been focusing more directly, more boldly on the economy. So this is an individual that we've learned a lot from. And as we think about the election in 2012 and the needs of this country and the vision and plan for our country going forward, I think it's important to reflect upon some of the things we've learned during this last few years. One of which is if you're going to put somebody in the Oval Office and make him or her President of the United States, they better be ready for the job. Barack Obama had been a community organizer. He had been a college professor. He'd been in the United States Senate long enough to have a cup of coffee before it got cold. And then we made him President of the United States. It shouldn't be a mystery as to why it's not working. He didn't have the experience or the results or the record to be President of the United States. Number two, he had the wrong and dangerous direction for the country. It wasn't obvious to everybody at first because he came through places like Iowa with this soaring rhetoric, with these fancy speeches, and he duped the Democrats here into catapulting him towards the presidency. And the speeches were good, let's face it. The rhetoric was really powerful. It was entertaining. But you and I know that Barack Obama's words don't put gas in our tank. It doesn't pay our mortgage. Barack Obama's speeches don't provide jobs. They don't provide this business customers. All it is rhetoric. And so we don't need any more rhetoric. We need results. We need to get this country back on track. So I want to share with you not more bashing of Barack Obama, because I think with him you can stick a fork in him. He's done. You look at his numbers nationally, it's not very good. If you look at the numbers in the swing states, you know, the re-election numbers amongst independents and people who are going to decide the election in the swing states, his numbers are awful. So we can stick a fork in him politically. So now we've got to talk about what are we going to do to get this country back on track. What are our positive ideas that we can lead this country to a better place? Number one, you and I know we got to get this economy moving. For people in Jasper County, for people in Sully, the main way that they have access to a quality of life is whether they have a job. If we went around this room and talked about your hopes and dreams and your concerns, I think you'd be concerned about how you're going to afford health care and how you're going to pay your mortgage and how you're going to worry about getting your kids through college, how you might be able to just meet some of your life needs. You need money. The way you get money is to have a job. And so we need to do those things in this country that are going to make it more likely that jobs are going to grow, not less likely. And the people who want to start and grow businesses in this country, all across the country, basically say the same thing. Get the government off my back. You've made the load too heavy, it needs to be lighter. Some talk about taxes, some talk about regulation, some talk about energy costs, some talk about healthcare costs, but added up together, all that and more, the load is too heavy on the people who want to start and grow businesses and provide jobs in this country. And the Democrats will roll through town and say, hey, well, we're for jobs too. We're the pro-job mayor, or the pro-job member of Congress, or the pro-job legislator if they're a Democrat candidate. We can't be pro-job and anti-business. That's like being pro-egg and anti-chicken. That doesn't work so well. So we want to do those things that will encourage people to start and grow businesses in America. And that's not happening right now. Under this president and the Congress that preceded the one that we have now, they did the wrong thing. They took the country in the wrong direction. Their view is to take things out of the private sector and put it into government. Our view is we got to take things out of government and put it back into the private sector. I've got the most specific jobs and economic plan of any candidate in the race by far. It's all on our website at timpawlenty.com if you want to read it. But the short version is we got to lower business tax rates from some of the heaviest in the world to some of the best in the world. We've got to simplify and flatten the tax code. We've got to lighten up individual tax rates so that we don't have so many brackets and so much complexity and so much burden. We have to have a lighter regulatory system. We have to have an American energy plan where we stabilize energy price and bring it down by creating more supply of energy, but doing that here in America rather than in the Middle East. And we also need to make sure that we're about the business of doing healthcare reform the right way. It is one of the most costly things for people and families and businesses and government, but we don't want to have the government take it over. We want to have market forces used, give people freedom to choose what's best for them and their family in a marketplace. And you know, also we got a spending problem. You know, just because we followed Greece into democracy doesn't mean we need to follow them into bankruptcy. And that's the way the country's headed. And we have a president now, you can't find his plan on specifically what he's going to do to reform and fix the main drivers of the spending. You know, where is his specific plan to save Social Security? Where is his specific plan to save and reform Medicare? Where is his specific plan to save and reform Medicaid? You can't find it. In fact, I've offered a prize. I'll offer it again here this morning. If you can find his specific proposals in public on those issues, I will bake you dinner. I'll make you dinner. I'll come to your house and make you dinner. Or I'll mow your grass. I'm limited to 1 acre, man. And the reason I won't have to pay off on that offer is because you won't be able to find it. If you're going to be President of the United States, you got to lead on the big issues of the day. You can't hide, you can't duck, you can't bob, you can't weave. That's what he's doing. He should have the courage and the strength to come forward and lead the country on these most pressing issues of the day. And you saw what happened with his failure to do so and the failure in Washington more broadly. That is a downgrade of the United States of America. Now that's just one of many symptoms or indicators of the problems our country has. We should downgrade him from the presidency. We need a better president if we're going to have a better America going forward. So I want to close and just tell you that all the candidates, or many of them, are going to tell you many of the same things. If there was other Republican candidates standing here, they'd say, no, I'm the one for reducing spending. I'm the one who will reduce taxes. I'm the one who will be for school reform and choice that focuses on parental empowerment and accountability. They'll say, I'm the one who's pro-life. I'm the one who is going to solve the issue of traditional marriage and protect it in our laws and appoint conservative justices and down the list of things. Look, any Republican candidate can stand up here like a bobblehead and give you the Republican talking points. That's not the real issue. The real issue is who's actually done these things as a leader under difficult circumstances and driven it to results. And if you drive a few hours north of here and get into Minnesota, check out my record or go on Google, what you'll see is a record that took spending in Minnesota state government from historic highs to historic lows. We cut taxes net during my 8 years as governor, even though there were the effects of 2 recessions during that time. We were one of the first states in the nation to take on the teacher unions big time and move the school districts from seniority pay to performance pay. Advanced the pro-life cause as far as any governor in the country, and appointed conservative justices, some of the best state court conservative justices in the country. I was the co-author of the Defense of Marriage Act in Minnesota. We took on public employee compensation issues and reformed them before it was the cool and popular thing to do across the rest of the country. And immigration reform and welfare reform and all of the issues. The point of all this is there's a big difference between people giving you the words, as we saw with Barack Obama, and actually being able to get it done, having the leadership and the fortitude and the experience to get it done. In Minnesota, I got it done. And then everybody's going to also say, I'm the one who can go win, not just in the Republican places, but in the swing states that we need to win if we're going to take back the White House and get this country back on track. Well, I actually did. I got elected and re-elected statewide in one of the most challenging political environments of any state in the country. So those are some of the strengths I bring to the race. I know with the news of the last few weeks and really the last few years, there's a lot of discouragement in the country, and there's reason to be concerned. But if we work together and roll up our sleeves and put our shoulders back and plow ahead using common sense, conservative principles, the things that always made this country the greatest nation in the world, we can do it again. There's nothing standing between us and that future other than getting a better direction in the White House and taking back the U.S. Senate. The things that you and I know work, that we believe in, that have been time-tested, that the country has stood on from its foundings, that have made us successful through all of our chapters of success, are there for all to see. So the way forward may not be easy, but it's not complex. We know what works. We know what works. We just got to unite behind that and get this country moving again. As president, I'll do that, and I won't let you down. If you haven't already signed up for the Ames straw poll, I hope you will. It's this Saturday. Our campaign can get you tickets, transportation if you need it. Many of you have probably been there before, but as you know, it's a fun time. There's food, we'll have barbecue, Dairy Queen blizzards, be a lot of other activities, bands, speeches, the whole deal. So I hope you'll come. Voting between 10 and 4 on Saturday, and it's going to be an interesting time and an important time, not just for Iowa, but for the country. So thanks for coming this morning, and I appreciate your attention, and I look forward to any questions.